I've been able to raise $35 million of private money to fund all of my deals over the last 8 or 9 years. And, we're taking that money and going out and buying properties, a lot of single families. We're starting to get more into the commercial space. We bought a warehouse last year. I'm in negotiations for a couple others right now, and they're still doing the single family stuff as well, but just trying to go bigger at the end of it. So I think the number one thing everybody needs to do is just flip the mindset from an ask to giving somebody an opportunity of a lifetime. And I'll give you one example why. Because if you feel like you had the keys to the castle when you could change somebody's life, why are you not telling everybody that you know about the opportunity? Here's the example. When I was 20 years old, bought my first flip when I was 21 years old, raised $250,000 of private money to fund that deal, flipped it 4 days after my 22nd birthday, made $100,000 in profit net to me after paying everybody off, and reinvested every single penny back into the business, and just have been growing it ever since. So, I mean, we're, I don't know, 300-400 deals in, flipped wholesale, a couple hundred, built 10 or 20 new construction houses, own 130 rental properties today, and buying more every single week.
Yo, what's going on out there? Welcome to Moguls in the Making, episode 54. We got something special for y'all today. Lord, do we got something special for y'all today? But you already know who I am, right? Y'all know who I am.
Yeah.
Most lovely, you're most gracious, you're most handsome. Geechee, aka T, aka Tyrone, aka Boiler Up. You know what I'm saying? We here though. We here, and I got this dude next to me.
I'm your host, Catch a Bag. Oh man, and I'm glad to be back with y'all, man. It's been a couple weeks. We've been doing a lot of crazy stuff. See, I'm gonna just kind of head right into the business. We flew out to Arizona maybe a couple weeks ago. We got our course created. Um, we just hired a new person. She's gonna be a super dope addition to the team. We've been hitting 6-figure months and stuff like that, and we're just looking to continue to keep going into the summer on fire. We might be opening another market towards the middle end of the summer. And what else is going on to kind of high level?
I think it's more just honing back into our systems and stuff like that too right now. This is an important time for us to take advantage of every single lead, right? So this ain't one of those times that, in the past, man, you can kind of put some marketing out there, throw it at it, and it was some deals coming out of it. So right now, I think it's been huge for us to take advantage of every single lead that we have on the table. So we've been kind of honestly, which is a good thing, as being a business owner, we've been a lot of like background stuff. It haven't been as much as us like actually speaking to sellers or speaking to buyers. I mean, we handling the systems right now, and that's huge for us because we've been wanting to be here for a while, right? And we just taking that step and getting the right people in place, not just anybody. At first we felt like we got a nice hire on the disposition side, and that's worked. I mean, it's worked marvelously for us. And then we was kind of struggling on the acquisition side, and we finally got that together. And so it's feeling good right now. And then we're starting actually a new marketing, a new style of marketing with a company that was recommended over to us. So it's gonna be interesting to see how that works out. We'll let y'all know how that works out as well. But
True, man. Without further ado, man, we got to bring in our guest today. Obviously, I know you guys can see him. Half of y'all know him, and if you don't, man, let's bring him in. We got our dude AR Austin Rutherford, man, in the building, man. How you doing, bro?
I'm feeling good, y'all. I'm looking forward to today.
hey, elevate.
Elevate.
Elevate. Hey man, I'll be wearing your shirt to the gym and stuff, man. So I'll be representing everybody's shirt. I dang near represent everybody's shirt beside ours.
See how you do us,
my
man.
guy. This my guy Brent Daniels here with the Rhino Tribe.
I love
And
it.
I'll be rocking the Elevate shirts though. People actually like it, man. They like I forget what you got on the back of them, but a lot of people be like, hey man, I like that. It's like family.
Faith,
Uh,
family, finances, and fitness.
Yep. A lot of people love that, man. But man, it's good to see you, bro. We ain't seen you in a minute. What's going on?
No 100, bro. It's been too long, but life is good. Living, loving life. Real estate's cranking. We got the baby on the way. First one,
Ooh.
so
We got a lot to unpack.
good.
We got a lot to unpack. We got a lot to unpack, man. Well, as y'all don't know this, man, but I literally nicknamed Austin in my phone AR-15. So you went there like that.
I love it.
Now people gonna start calling you that. You gonna know where it comes from. You be like, oh, okay. You must have seen the episode or something. But nah, man, we kind of just wanted to hop in, really dive, crazy into, marketing, sales, hiring, firing, just really running a business and really what it takes, you know what I'm saying, to be a real full-time deal in this thing and kind of everything that you go with on a day-to-day basis. So how we like to start off the pod is let everybody know kind of where you at today. What does your business look like today?
Yeah, so business is very different today versus when it started. Starting out was a lot of flips and wholesales. Now, essentially the goal is just to build the rental portfolio. So, we do the BRRRR model, buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. I've been able to raise, $35 million of private money to fund all of my deals over the last 8 or 9 years. And, we're taking that money and going out and buying properties, a lot of single families. We're starting to get more into the commercial space. We bought a warehouse last year. In negotiations for a couple others right now. And they're still doing the single family stuff as well, but just trying to go bigger at the end of the day.
Yeah. So
Hold up, man, he slid past that real quick. He slid past.
What he say? What he slide past?
30 to 35 million raised. I mean, bro, that's huge. I know that you're in a lot of networking events and stuff. I mean, networking communities and stuff like that. Where I remember a big post that came from you that like people was like, oh, I own 150 million in real estate, 400 million in real estate, whatever. But I mean, to be to come from a small operation and be able to raise 30 to 35 million dollars to fund your deals. I mean, bro, that is huge. I want to give you your kudos for that. That's huge, man. I mean, that's huge.
I appreciate it. I mean, I think when everybody starts, money is always a problem, right? In people's heads, it's always a problem. Once you get it, though, it actually becomes the easiest piece of the pie. And I think that most people come into real estate looking for money in the way of an ask. Hey, can you please invest in me? Hey, can I please borrow money? Hey, can you please do me a favor? And when you're in negotiation, you're coming from an ask. It's never a good place to be when you're trying to get something for yourself. So I think the number one thing everybody needs to do is just flip the mindset from an ask to giving somebody an opportunity of a lifetime. And I'll give you one example why. Because if you feel like you had the keys to the castle and you could change somebody's life, why are you not telling everybody that you know about the opportunity? Here's the example. 98% of the world does a traditional retirement. Go to college, get a job, put money up into their, IRA and 401k, work till they're 65, save, let's just use $1 million, and then retire and pray that they have enough money to live on for the last 20 years of their life. And the plan is to invest conservatively and then spend money until they die. And hopefully they have enough money before they die. That's like the traditional plan, right? So that means that when they die, they give nothing to their kids. There's $0 left. And if they live longer than they expected, there's $0 left. It's a double whammy. But if you can give somebody the opportunity of that same $1 million, lending it to you, let's say at 12% interest, you can pay them $100,000 a year in interest, and they'll never lose any of their principal. So they can live until however long they want to live for, and you're going to keep paying them. They never got to go to work at Walmart or Wendy's or anything like that. And when they die, they give their kids $1 million inheritance. So it's like if you know that you can do that for somebody, it's no longer an ask. It's giving somebody an opportunity to invest with you.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this, Austin. If you had to kind of think about all of the people that you've raised money from and kind of put them all into a category and say some of the similarities or characteristics or things that they all have in common, is there any type of correlation just for our audience where they're like, hey, obviously anybody can give me money, but hey, this type of, this is kind of what I'm shooting for, right? This is kind of just an easier sale, quote unquote, or just somebody that understands it. That question kind of makes sense.
Yeah, that's a great question. I've never actually been asked like that. The one thing to preempt my answer, I've raised money from 25-year-olds and 85-year-olds. So anybody and everybody can become a private money lender, but the general kind of description where I've raised most of my money from, is not the multimillionaires, because they understand money already. They get it. People think like, oh, let me go to the big house with all the nice cars. They're not lending you money at 10%. They're taking 50% equity, right?
Right.
Not the best way to raise money. The best way to raise money is you're just traditional everyday people that have worked for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years and put, money into a retirement account, and they have, $100,000 to $1 million in their retirement account that they're trying to, live on and use as the rest of their lifestyle. So that's, I raised most of my money from self-directed retirement accounts. So, I would say 50 to 80-ish year olds that went through the corporate lifestyle. And you just give them a different way, to make money on their money.
I agree with you there. I actually gotta agree 100% with you there. Most of the people that we've talked to that's millionaires, like they make a lot of money. It's like they always want that bigger piece of the pie that makes it not make sense for you, right?
Yeah, they want equity deal, equity splits and percentages and stuff.
They want interest and equity.
Right. Like, this is
Exactly.
crazy.
Yeah, they want you to sign a 360 essentially.
Yep.
Essentially. But I know you guys have some questions for him, man. Bring them in. It's time to see what Austin got.
Trying to see what he got.
Let's see what he got.
What you mean?
No, I'm messing around.
No, I do got one though, real quick before we switch gears. Where are you finding these people at?
So the answer again is everywhere. I try to talk to every single person that comes within a 5-foot radius of me. If we're walking down the street, if we're in the elevator, if we're sitting at a restaurant, if we're sitting at a bar, if we're sitting on an airplane, if we're sitting on a train, like anytime somebody's next to me, I always spark a conversation because that's the only way you know if they're going to have any interest in lending you money. So one is everywhere. But again, if you want to put yourself in a scenario with a higher likelihood, real estate networking events have been amazing for me because if you meet somebody out in everyday life, one, you have to sell them on real estate, and then two, you have to sell them on you. Right? It's a double thing that you got to do. But if people are in rooms learning about real estate, they probably already heard about other people's money and they already believe in real estate or they wouldn't be there. So you got to understand, investing in real estate is not the easiest business in the world. It's hard, right?
Yeah.
Everybody out here would do it. So everybody wants to be in real estate. So you can give those people the opportunity to be in real estate by becoming a private money lender. So being in real estate networking type of circles, that's where I've raised the most money, 100%.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I love it. That's been a fact for us too, though. A lot of our private money has came from real estate circles or people who are already interested in it, who maybe done a flip, or we kind of helped them, gave them a contractor, and now they're like, hey man, you guys were doing that. I'll kind of, invest some money over here too. I got a little bit more capital to play with. I feel more comfortable in the market, whatever it may be. And those are definitely great strategies for you guys to go out and, really say, hey, this is at least my focus group. I know I can speak to everybody, but hey, as a beginner, if I never raised any money, this is where I can kind of go to start out and really be able to branch out and kind of get my feet wet. And I might be able to get one or two, kind of see how it goes, get the paperwork done, just get the feel for it overall, get somebody a return back. And now you got a testimonial. Really, that's the way to do it. Get a flip, get a testimonial and stuff like that. At least so if people are interested in things like that, you can say, hey, you can call this person. They worked with me before in the past, and that just builds your credibility up from somebody else speaking about you versus you telling somebody about you too. So
100%.
That's hard. OT, where you want to go with it?
Man, I want to take it back. I always say, man, I want to see where I want to know where it all started. And I know you didn't just, stumble into this, right? So I know you got a pretty dope story, man. So kind of take them back. How did you even get started? In the real estate business, in the real estate space?
Yeah, I mean, my original dream was to go to the NBA. The saying about white men can't jump is accurate. I'm playing, but that didn't work out. And I ended up with a book. It's on my shelf over here, but it's called Think and Grow Rich, and that opened up my mind, to the possibility of thinking bigger, making money outside of being an athlete. And then I was sitting on my rooftop and I saw a 7-unit apartment building. And I was like, if there's 7 people paying one person rent, he's got to be doing something right. And that's what kind of gave me the itch for passive residual income. So bought a duplex, just turnkey duplex when I was 20 years old. Bought my first flip when I was 21 years old, raised $250,000 of private money to fund that deal. Flipped it 4 days after my 22nd birthday, made $100,000 in profit net to me after paying everybody off, and reinvested every single penny back into the business, and just have been growing it ever since. So, I mean, we're, 300-400 deals in, flipped wholesale, a couple hundred, built 10 or 20 new construction houses, own 130 rental properties today, and buying more every single week. So it's been a fun ride.
That's a lot to unpack there. It's definitely a lot to unpack there. So let's say starting out, because you kind of had a different entry into the real estate space that we had, because we got in straight doing wholesaling, right? So we joined. I mean, we got into the market probably like what 2017. 20 yeah
End of
20 into
2017.
27. That's what's kind of crazy, but yeah, both of us at the same time almost. And we weren't doing deals together, right? At first, but what made you say, hey, I'm about to go buy this duplex? Did you live in one side? Did you and rent out the other? Or kind of how did you, like, did you get an FHA loan? Like, what kind of got you into it? Because that's more like a house hacks type of situation, right?
Yeah, I wish I knew what house hacking was. I would have done it differently. I'd say
Right.
the first thing I heard was passive residual income. And then I researched what it was, and it was making money continuously without working. And then we obviously know it's not that easy, right? But I was like, man, if I can make money every month with, a little amount of work, I was like, I'm in. So that's what I got hooked on. So I had about 30 grand saved. I used to sell Buckeye necklaces back in Ohio. I flipped candy, shovel driveways, cut grass. So I had about $30,000 at the time. And so I just started looking at houses. I built this little, spreadsheet. I got my mortgage calculator payment, my property taxes, my insurance. And, I didn't think about vacancies, repairs, any of that other stuff. It was mortgage payment over rent. That was it. And I was, found a deal, and I was like, all right, this works. I make about $900 a month. I'm in. And I put up the money and bought it. And, it was already rented. So it was cash flow on day one. And then the day after it closed, I was like, it took me 20 years to save 30 grand to buy one property. If I want to buy more properties, I need to make money faster. Like, that's not a good model. And so my realtor made like $7,000 or $8,000 in commissions on that deal. I was like, bet. So I went and got my real estate license, sold 2 houses and hated it. And then, I was valeting cars at the time. I was driving into work one morning, and, I heard on the radio, it was like, if you want to learn how to flip houses and get rich, come to this seminar. And went to the seminar, swiped a credit card for 25 grand. And, that program was based around using other people's money to flip houses.
Austin, tell me this, man, because I'm picking apart this.
Mhm.
You made 100,000 at 21,
22.
22,
Yep.
right? Like, just for y'all to understand, like, is your parents rich?
No,
Okay, all right. So $100,000, 22. You didn't go to college, or you did?
I dropped out, but I was there for like a couple years, but never got a degree.
Right. Okay. So I'm saying 22, you in this life, you young, you figuring stuff out, like everything is new. Whether you went to college or really not, it's still just people are gonna blow through 100,000 at
Yep.
that age, more likely. And you said, no, I'm gonna take that 100,000, reinvest into my business. You had 30,000 already saved from doing everything, all these different side hustles, and you had 30,000. You like, how did you get this? Where did you get this discipline from, though, to say this is the right thing and the right move to do? And hey, I'm gonna hold off on it. I'm gonna hold off on the shoes, the trips, the girls, the drinking, the this, the that. How did you have that discipline like that? Who gave that to you?
Yeah, I think I'm going to give you the how I think it happened, but just to give a little bit more context, 4 days after my 22nd birthday. So I just celebrated my birthday. I I sold my first house, and I netted $107,000 in true net profit. And I cashed the check. And the next day, I went back to valeting cars 50 to 60 hours a week. I went back to college to take 15 credit hours, and I reinvested every single penny back. I didn't go to dinner. I didn't go on a trip. I didn't buy a pair of sneakers. I didn't buy a car. I didn't buy a watch. I put every single penny back into this business, because what I see is people work so hard to get that break, and they wholesale their first house and make 10 or 20,000 or whatever that break is. And then they go blow it, and then they start all over again. So like, you did all that work to restart. It's crazy to me. But I think the reason I have that mindset, thankfully, way back when I was, saving that $30,000 as a teenager and, early teens, honestly, I would save money, and I would like hide my money in behind picture frames in my house. And I'd have like 3 or 4 wallets, and I ended up losing a couple of the wallets. They had a few $100s each in them. And at like, 12, 13, 14 years old, like, that's a lot of money. And so I went to my parents. I was like pissed. I was crying. They're like, where's it at? I was like, I don't know. And they're like, let's open a bank account for you. And I was like, all right, what's a bank account? And obviously I couldn't open a bank account at, that age. So it was like my parents' bank account, but it was like my money type of thing. And so I started putting the money in the bank account, right? Just throwing it away. Boom, 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 boom. And then I don't remember the age, but it was sometime in my teens. One example I vividly remember, I wanted to buy a four-wheeler, an ATV. And I was sitting there on Craigslist and I was looking up all these ATVs. It was a few thousand, maybe $5,000 or something. And I found it. And I was like, Mom, Dad, like, I'm buying the ATV. They're like, with what money? I was like, what you mean? My money? What you mean whose money? Mine. And they're like, yeah, it's in the bank. I was like, yeah, we got to go get it out the bank. And they're like, nah, you can't get it out for that. I was like, what? What do you mean? It's my money.
My money.
It obviously sucked at the moment. I was very upset. But looking back, it was one of the greatest lessons I could have ever learned, is to actually use the money to invest into the future, invest into the assets. And once you buy the assets, you can have whatever type of lifestyle you want, but you got to put the money into the assets first.
Damn, that's dope. So they really was like, nah, so you thought it was sweet, but nah, we're not gonna let you do that because it just don't make sense. You don't see it now. How mad was you though, bro? Can you remember?
Oh no, I was furious. I was
you was pissed for probably weeks.
Like 100%.
He was like, man, it already sold on Craigslist. This week.
Exactly.
For sure.
Well, that discipline basically has rolled into the life that you live in today, though. Because I just heard it from you. You just said at the beginning of this interview, you said, look, I'm done with the flips, with the more of the wholesaling stuff. Like, I'm actually investing in straight rental properties now. So obviously that same discipline, even after you worth what you're worth now, you're still putting it into assets that'll keep paying you slowly but surely as you move forward, bro. That's crazy. I mean, and that's what people don't understand. I think that's a big thing that people don't understand because of the age of instant gratification. I feel like that's been like the last 10, 15 years. Definitely 10 years is that everybody want to be like, they want the Instagram life, right? And the problem with the Instagram life is the fact that it's a highlight reel.
Yep.
It's a highlight reel. I see kids play basketball, I see other kids play basketball, I see teenagers play basketball, I see them in person play. I'm like, oh, he's all right. I see a YouTube video highlight reel of him. I'm like, wait a minute.
Man,
we need to get him.
He going to the league. Yeah, so, but that's what people don't understand, is that it's a highlight reel. So even the things that some people look like they have, they may not have, for one. 100%. But if they do, they're not showing all of the stuff that actually brought them up to that point. And having a mindset like yours is actually something that brings people to that point where you're trying to build wealth and you're not trying to be rich. Yeah. And I think people have to separate those two terms, rich or wealthy. And I'm taking wealthy 10 times out of 10.
That's huge. And about 3.5 years ago is when that finally, the rich versus wealthy thing finally drilled in. I was flipping and wholesaling. We were doing multi 6-figure months, and we were crushing it, right? And so there's a buddy of mine. We started investing real estate at the same time. The 90% of his business day one was buying rental properties. 90% of my business day one was flipping it or wholesaling or new construction, making money, right? And 5 years into the game, early on in the game, I had way more money. I was traveling, I was doing what I wanted, living, right? And he was always like, bro, how do you have so much cash? And I was like, I'm just flipping houses. And then 5 years into the business, I got on a call. He was like, yeah, man, I just did a refinance. I was like, okay, like, tell me about it. He's like, well, I took 30 of my 100+ houses and I refinanced them. I was like, all right, what does it look like? He's like, well, I paid off 10 entirely. So there's 10 paid off houses. That creates about $10,000 a month in cash flow for the rest of his life. He said, I re-leveraged the other 20, which is a few $100s a month per property for the rest of his life. So he created like $12,000 to $14,000 a month. So it's about $150,000 a year in pure cash flow for the rest of his life. And I was just, that alone is like, oh, like that's lit.
Yeah.
He said, on top of that, I pulled $1 million out tax free. I said, huh? Come again? And he ran it back to me. $1 million tax free, keep in mind, is like making $1.5 million because you're going to pay a third in taxes, right? I never made $1.5 million in a year at that time. And I was like, you did this on one deal and you're making $150,000 a year for the rest of your life? I was like, oh yeah, I'm running the wrong race. You know, that was the day I realized I was on the hamster wheel of life, chasing money, chasing deals, you know, pushing the pay, whatever that is for in, you know, in anybody's life. I was chasing. I was like, I got to get off the hamster wheel and I got to start building wealth, which is through the ownership of real estate. The ownership.
Okay, cool. Also, now I feel like we can kind of get nitty gritty. We in here, we warmed up, we done hopped off the treadmill, the stairmaster. We done got a couple games in. We ready. All right. So also, I'm being the devil's advocate. If you're doing flips, wholesales, you have multi 6-figure months.
Mhm.
Why not put somebody in place and still do what you're doing today? Why not do that?
Like keep the wholesale and start the portfolio. So it's a loaded question. To completely outsource a real estate wholesaling business is almost impossible. You know, there's very few people that say that it is, and I don't think it's truly outsourced, because the problem in real estate is there's so many variables that always come back to you, right? So that's one piece of it. And then the second piece of it, you know, essentially we're still, so that phone call, we pivoted the model. Right, speed of implementation is everything. The next day we pivoted the model. And instead of flipping and wholesaling everything, I figured out what my monthly overhead was, which included my own payroll, because you got to pay yourself enough to live on, because you pay everybody else, but you never pay yourself. It doesn't make sense to me. Everybody needs to pay themselves a W-2. So I figured out my monthly overhead, including my payroll, commissions, marketing, expenses, all that stuff. And let's say it was $50,000 a month. So I went out, I flipped and wholesaled and brought in the $50,000 a month plus a little bit. So maybe 60 or 70 a month, because obviously you want to run a profitable business. And then every deal past that, I kept as a rental property, because the problem is if you never draw a line in the sand, you're going to negotiate with yourself every time. Because when that deal comes, you already got your 70,000. Then that next deal, then you're like, oh bro, we can pop 50, 60, 70 on this, or you can keep it as a rental and make $300 a month. You're going to negotiate with yourself every single time. But the problem is because you haven't made that decision yet. So I put the line in the sand, and then we started building rental properties. And the cool thing is if you really take it to the next level, which people don't understand the true power of owning real estate, they typically look at the cash flow. If you buy the deal deep enough, your cash out refi proceeds are almost the equivalent of what you could have
of the wholesale or flip.
100%. So you wholesale it, you make 20. You do a refi, you make 10. Remember, you're getting taxed on the 20, so it's really like 13. But you made 10 on the refi, so you're only negotiating $3,000. And by the way, you own the property. You can do a cost segregation study and get the equivalent write-off. So you're actually technically potentially making more money through the ownership of real estate than you are flipping and wholesaling. The problem is you just don't get the check day one. So that was like a big misconception that a lot of people have. And by the way, if you're making money flipping and wholesaling, we just a month ago, everybody just stroked a check to the IRS, right? There is no reason to pay the IRS taxes if you're an active real estate investor. Because if you just start clipping off a couple of these rental properties instead of flipping and wholesaling everything, if you do it the right way, you can offset your tax liability. So it's like, you know, I kind of got off on a tangent there. But to answer your question, we pivoted the business the next day, and we were running two at the same time. And then I, grew on social media. Now all of our deal flow comes from social, wholesalers. Essentially, we have a couple marketing channels that we do ourselves, but the vast majority of it comes in from wholesalers.
They all come from a good 80-90% come from social media.
Yeah,
it's deals that come in, and you are mainly in Ohio specifically, though, right? That's where you're mainly doing all of your deals and stuff.
Yeah.
Now let me be devil's advocate number 2.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of things lately that I've been seeing, and from a part of our experience too, starting out in the rental side of things, is that when you purchase rentals, I think you really need to get into figuring out like the best angle in going into rentals. And what I mean by that is you can get into some of these rental properties and they're not actually cash flowing if you look at it on a yearly basis, right? So I'm gonna go and be a Section 8 renter. I'm gonna go rent out everything Section 8. I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. And then next thing you know, this property is cash flowing, say $500 a month for you. I'm just giving numbers just for numbers.
Yep.
What is that a year? Right? Like 6,000, right? But this tenant comes in and they create $8,000 in damage that year. So now that property is at a negative, right?
Yeah.
And tax liability wise, perfect. Obviously, I mean, you're always gonna be able to write off a lot of this stuff on your taxes. You're gonna get it back, etc. But what we was able to do, and I want to know when you started out, I want to know, did you make that mistake, or did you find what we find now is we found a niche property type
Buy box.
buy box in our market where if it's that, I'm keeping it, right?
Yeah.
But if it's not that, I'm not keeping it. And the
Yeah.
only unless it's a hell of a deal, unless I'm going to do exactly what you said, right? So unless I'm gonna refinance out of it and make 25,000 on the refinance,
Yeah.
now we're talking totally different. But if I'm right there at that 75%, where I'm just getting back my cash and maybe a little bit more. I rather lose money on the refinance. I rather have to leave in, and you're not losing money, by the way, but
Thanks.
I rather leave in $5,000
Equity.
me to take that bad property and make $10,000 on the refinance. Me personally, because for that rental, it's going to be a better performing rental property for me over time. I want you to speak to that.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. The first like 1 to 10, maybe 1 to 20 rental properties, you're not going to be highly profitable because, like you said, you're going to get a bad tenant, you're going to have to do an eviction, you're going to have a turnover. Until you build your portfolio big enough, like once you get 10 plus, 20 plus properties, you have a bad unit. The other properties carry that bad unit through the cash flow perspective. So as you grow, you'll be able to offset a lot of that potential downside risk. And that's why, you shouldn't just buy like 1 or 2. Like if you're going to do it, go in and buy a bunch of them. Right. So that's one side of it. Second side of it, in today's market, higher prices, higher interest rates. One strategy that we're using, we're doing interest only mortgages right now. So if you're paying your principal, your mortgage payment, which is PI, principal and interest, there's a portion of that goes to the principal every single month. So you can get an interest only loan to reduce your mortgage payment. So then you increase your cash flow, right? So for us, we're doing that, and we have a 10-year fixed rate. So our strategy is sometime in the next 2 to 10 years, sometime when the rates come down,
Refinance.
going to refinance at that point. So that's one other strategy that we're doing in this market. And I had another really good point, and I forgot what it was. And if you're buying rental properties only, you very arguably need to have another source of income, right? That's why when I first pivoted my business, I didn't cut all flips and wholesales. I was like, hey, we need to make X amount of dollars a month because we had to, market, we had to grow, I had to live, I had to pay people, right? So you need some active income as you're building the rental portfolio. Once you get the rental portfolio, big enough, then that is your active income. But during that process, whether that's flipping or wholesaling, or, you have another business, or you have a high paying W-2, or you have a coaching pro, whatever it is, you have to have some other sort of income coming in to be able to build a portfolio to that initial size where it makes sense.
I 100% agree. I just wanted you to speak to it because they hear it from us all the time.
They think we don't know what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So as far as that, also, how many people do you got on your core team right now? Let's kind of get into team, stuff like that.
Like true W-2 payroll, 2, including myself, one other person. And then we have one sales guy. And then we have, different teams in Ohio. So we got 2 property management companies, we got general contracting company, and then a bunch of subs as well. But truly in-house is one other person on W-2. That's
phenomenal, bro. You've been able to build what you have in another. What is their role? Like, what's their day-to-day? How does their day-to-day look?
So the one I just hired him, 2 weeks ago. So that it's executive assistant. So they're kind of eyes in Columbus file for me. But again, I have a great external team, right? I want to separate the two. Like the teams that I have externally, property management companies, general contracting companies, boots on the ground, like they're amazing. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without having the right teams in place. They're just not quote unquote internal, team members. But I mean, there was a time like, when we were, cranking a wholesale operation, doing 10 deals a month, making a couple $100,000 a month. I mean, we had 3 sales in-house in my office. I had 6 cold callers. I had an executive assistant. I had a transaction coordinator. I had a project manager, and I had a dispositions manager. So it's like I
Gotcha.
had the teams before. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty much what our business looked like, almost to the
Now,
T.
yes, sir.
So the
Yeah.
problem with it though is like I got to the point where I hated showing up every day. I hated going to the office. I hated managing the team. And a couple of things happened, team dissipated, and I was sitting there and I had the decision to make. Do I rebuild something I didn't enjoy, or do I move to Florida and make a slight pivot in the business model and continue to grow that way? And we chose to move to Florida. I think people brag about how big their team is
Yeah.
from an ego
Yes.
side of things. Like,
Yeah.
if having, I'm not, there's nothing
100%.
wrong with having a big team, but like, if you make
Yeah.
$1 million with 10 people on your team and I make $1 million with one, I want the one person. You know what I mean? So it's like, just make sure you're chasing the right things. You mentioned social media earlier. A lot of people get wrong understandings of how things should operate because they see something on social media and they're chasing something that's not even real in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. It's all a facade anyway, and they're lost trying to chase a facade, and it's confusing. So, awesome. What's your day to day then? So you got executive assistant that's your eyes and ears, and are you at home just like running around in your robe all day with
Right.
wifey in the background, wiping
Right.
tables and massaging your head? What's going on, man? What you doing? What's your day to day look like?
Yeah, no, we're still cranking. So, I kind of I mentioned it earlier. I fell into a 16,000 square foot warehouse last year. It looked like a decent deal. We took it down and it ended up being a phenomenal deal. And it's like, this is where I need to be. So I joined anytime in life I want to learn something new, I joined a coaching program that teaches that, right? That to me,
Can
it's
you
all
say that again?
literally, I've spent, I don't even know, $6, $7, $8, $900,000 on education over my career. It's simple to me. It's like, hey, you do what I do. I'll show me how to do it. Here's money, right? So I just joined a commercial like coaching program basically that buys retail strip centers, industrial, warehouse complexes, multifamily, like all that stuff. So that's kind of, where I'm headed now. Spending a lot of time growing that. And then, we still operate the business. I've got to, oversee the like the contracting. We've got, I don't know, 20, 25 projects under construction right now. So it's like, there's still moving pieces that come into play. And then I also still deal with the money. So the property, raising the private money, dealing with the private money lenders, making sure payoffs are good. So I still handle those relationships as well.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was about to go with it. As far as that, I was gonna say, how much time like throughout the week do you spend raising? And I know it's so like hard to kind of put because it's natural. Probably now it's a habit. It's in every conversation, every opportunity that comes
Right.
up. But work with me also here. I'm thinking from an intention standpoint, a mindset standpoint. I wake up and I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna go over here because I know more likely I might be able to have some conversations. And I'm gonna do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like, are you intentional like that, or you just wake up and however the day come, it just come like that? Like, how much time are you putting on obviously raising private money? Because that goes if you don't have the money, then how are you making offers under now today you can. Some of your cash flow you can take and still buy rental properties, but it's a direct correlation to say, hey, I'm gonna stop wholesaling, I'm gonna stop. I mean, you still flip, but saying I'm gonna kind of cut those things and I'm gonna pull back and I'm gonna really focus on really building this wealth out. Private money has to go hand in hand with that. You know what I mean?
For sure. I mean, early on, it was a lot more intentional with raising money. So I would go to every meetup I could, which was typically 3 or 4 meetups a week. So I'd go to every one I could. When I went out to eat, I would, when my wife and I first got together, she would want to sit at, we go out to dinner. She would want to sit at like a table, in the back or whatever. And I'm like, nope, we're sitting at the bar, baby. Like, I got to talk to people. So like I was very, very intentional putting myself in the right surroundings early on when I needed to raise the money. Now it's just like you said, it's an everyday thing. So like I everywhere I go, I'm always looking to have a conversation that leads to private money. So it's not something I like, go out of the way for right now. But it absolutely is conversations I have every single week. So I've got, calls, DMs, social media, y'all. I'm gonna give me 30 seconds to go off on this. If y'all are
Come
not
on.
on social media, like you're missing the world. Like the eyeballs is the new currency. We said it earlier. Majority of my deals come from social media. I raise a ton of private money from social media. I've made millions and millions of dollars from social media. Like it will multiply the business that you currently operate. And if you don't have one, it'll help whatever business you're going to start tenfold. You got to build a brand on social media. So I have a lot of conversations just off of social media.
All right. It's from building a following and things like that over the last. And when did you really kind of get serious? Was it 2020, 2021? When did you kind of get real serious?
Yeah, 2020.
How'd you come up with that decision? It's like, man, you know what? Forget it. I gotta do this.
So I was doing it like a couple years before that. One of my mentors, he's like, bro, social media, social media, social media, social media. And I started doing it and I had, a little bit of success with it. And it was, working. But then, 2020 came around and that's kind of when TikTok was first blowing up. So I got on TikTok, pretty early and, went viral, a lot. And, that's where I really saw the power in it and the reach that comes from it and the growth that comes from it and the opportunity that comes from it. And it was like, that was kind of light bulb. I was like, oh, okay, like this is a whole nother business. Like this isn't a little side hustle. Like this is a business in and of itself. And we started treating it like a business at that point.
Right. So tell me this, man. I got two things actually for you, Austin.
He's smiling, so he must got something. He's smiling. When he smiles, he got something.
Because this is my guy, and I've actually watched a lot of your stuff, so I know what you're about to say. I'm sitting at the bar that you and your wife are at, right?
Yep.
We had
where y'all at, Chief?
Chili's.
No, we ain't at Chili's. We can't. we ain't at Chili's, okay? I don't know if y'all got St. Elmo's or anything like that, but let's say we're at Roof Chris, something like that, right? The biggest steakhouse in any one of y'all cities. Let's just say that we're in one of those. We sitting at the bar. Let's have that conversation. Like, how are you bringing up this conversation, and how does that conversation normally go? Because it's not easy for some people to just even spark the conversation. It's easy for us now because this is what we do, right?
Yep.
But my first time watching you say what you're about to say, I was like, damn, I'm thinking about this way too hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But one thing, and I love the role play. Right before that, anybody listening to this, I got $1.3 million on social media. I'm on it every single day. I'm still an introvert. So it's like, if that's your excuse, that's BS. Like to this day, I don't like it, but I understand the value and the power that it brings. I have to force myself out of my comfort zone every single day to continue to put myself in front of people because I understand what it can do. But, we're sitting at the bar, hanging out. I look for something, whether there's, ESPN's on, if one of the teams are on, they get their food out before I get, or they get dessert before I get it. They got a nice watch on, like anything that I see, I'm sparking the conversation. Like, oh, you see the game last night? Like you Cavs fan, whatever city we're in, you a Cavs fan? Or like, man, beautiful watch, bro. They just, yeah. Well, how were you able to afford that? Or like, oh man, my favorite desserts, cookies and cream too. Like I'm just finding a way to start the conversation. So you want to role play it?
We can do it.
All right. So you got a nice.
I got on a rollie.
Yep, man, beautiful watch, brother. love the watch, man. How long you had it for?
Oh, appreciate it, man. This is actually one of my family pieces, man. I had it for about 10 years now. I actually got my name engraved on the inside of it and everything. I'll give it to my son, man.
I love it. You said one of the family pieces. Sounds like you got a couple of them.
Yeah, I do it. I kind of collect watches and stuff like that. Just cashed out on a rose gold AP as well, man. So,
Okay.
I like to keep them playing like this one though.
I love it, man. I love it. What do you do? What have you been doing to be able to afford something like that?
Man, honestly, I'm in technology. I got into it early on, to be honest with you. I do a lot of programming and stuff like that. Ended up having a programming company, and then ended up getting just a high level position, man. So I I invest all my money for the most part, but I live a chill lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? For what I make.
For sure. It sounds like you're doing well for yourself. You mentioned, invest the money. You buying real estate? You buying stocks? You buying watches? What all you got going on?
Man, honestly, just putting it in my 401k. Normally, it's been able to to just stack up over the years. You know, like I said, I've been doing this technology thing for like 15, 20 years now, man. So yeah.
So right here, I have the conversation. I extract the information that I need. I'm thinking about, one, you got to understand private money, because typically you have to teach people how to get access to it. This isn't us role playing, but typically you have to teach people how to get access to private money to get them to lend you money. So when somebody says retirement accounts, investments, putting money away, like that's a trigger for me. So now I'm going to follow up. You know, you mentioned that you said, hey, I got a high paying job. So I know for self-directed IRAs, if you've transferred jobs recently, you can roll the previous self-directed IRA to a self-directed custodian and invest with me. So then I'm going to like find a way to see if, you know, it's the same company, or if you've transferred companies, or if you own the company. So I'm going to, you know, find a way to kind of talk about that. And then inevitably at some point during our conversation, it's going to flip, and it's going to be like, yeah, man, what do? You know, you got a nice watch, you got a nice late, whatever it is, right? And then that's when your hook comes in. So, you know, let's say that you kind of flip it up, bring it back to, and let's say somebody never asked you, what do you do? Then fuck them, move on to the next person.
Right.
Like, you talk to is not going to be a private money lender, just like every seller you talk to is not going to sell you their house at 50 cents on the dollar.
Exactly.
So yeah, if you flip it back to me and like, you know, hey, you know, what do you do, man?
I got you.
Don't be boring. Don't say like, oh, I do real estate. Oh, I'm a wholesaler. Like, no, don't say none of that stuff. Find a way to create curiosity. So I say, you know, yeah, man, you know, I actually invest in real estate, and I actually teach other people how to, you know, earn double-digit returns as well. Or I teach other people how to invest their money into real estate. And same thing, you know, if there's not any interest and they're like, oh, that's dope, and then they go to eating their food, it's like, cool, on to the next. Right. But inevitably at some point, someone's going to be like, oh man, like I've always wanted to get into real estate. Yeah, my dad owned real estate. I've always, you know, I bought a rental property 10 years ago. You know, that's what you're looking for. And then you extract the information, you know, like how long have you owned it for? What do you do with it? Did you sell? Why'd you sell it? What did you do with the profits that you made from it? Then you just extract the information. And then at some point it's like, hey man, you know, if there was a way, you know, an opportunity where I could show you how to invest in real estate, is that something you'd be open to? And then they're going to say yes or no. And if they say yes, don't pitch them. Don't be like, well, I got this deal, you know, it's 200 grand. It closes next week. I schedule a follow-up at that point. And then, you know, I send them a credibility packet that, you know, answers kind of a lot of stuff about private money. And then on the call, we'll go over the packet, answer any questions they have, and ask them for a simple yes or no.
Right. And that's huge right there, man, because it's that simple. Like I feel like you don't sell yourself too much to people. Right. And one big thing is, like, if you're doing it with everyone's not going to be interested right then and there. You know what I'm saying? So it may be when the dude is leaving, he might say, oh, okay, that's what's up, man. When he's leaving out, hey, take my card, man. I might want to speak with you about that in the near future. Boom. And he just keep it moving. You don't got to be like, oh, no, let's talk right now. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just saying that because some people, they just now starting to get a few deals going, and they just now thinking about even pitching for private money. Don't be that guy. Don't be the guy. Okay, if you're gonna be, for instance, I heard you say one time, Austin, you sometimes frequent country clubs and stuff like that, right? And so if you're gonna be in there, you know you're gonna keep coming around, you're gonna see the same people. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna have that conversation with them at some point. You know, you may bring it up at first, and then it may be the fourth time that you see them again that, hey man, you know, what exactly do you do again? I thought you said something about real estate, man. I just got this extra 250,000. You know, I'm thinking about putting it into real estate, but you know, I don't really want to be doing all the work and stuff. So, you know, what do you do again? You know what I'm saying? So that's huge, man. But I appreciate that role play. That was dope.
And I just want to pause that. That was.
And I don't have a Rolex though, y'all. I don't got no Rolex.
And hey, that was fire. I want to say, man, I hope y'all go back the last 5 minutes, 7 minutes, rewatch it. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Austin is on here. He's been raised, you know, $35 million, and he's building up a portfolio. When he got it down, he know how to do it. And, you know, wealth is already here, but really inevitable because you have the skill set on how to do it. And obviously, you go out, you're going to fumble over your words. You're going to mess it up. You're going to do everything. He's already done it. We've done it, you know. And it's just part of the game, but you stay at it, just like riding a bike. The first time you fall off of it, you'll be like, you know, I ain't gonna try that again. Or, you know, you first time you hit a little curve on the car, you're like, you know what, driving ain't for me. Like we don't do that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh dang, oh man, let me pay attention. Let me wake up. Let me, you know, try it again. And it's the same thing. And then success really is inevitable. So also I want to switch gears completely before we kind of, end off into the weekend and stuff like that, man. How was being married, man?
Oh man, I love it, bro. We last week was our 1 year anniversary.
Congratulations, bro.
Thank you
Yeah, you
guys.
normally still love it around 1 year, man. I'm not gonna lie. No, I'm just kidding. I'm messing around. I'm messing around.
No,
No,
it's,
my wife, don't get mad at me. I was just playing. I actually am playing, girl. Dang,
uh,
will get after me too.
no, it's been great. We've been together 5.5, married 1. We got a kid coming in 3-ish months. So it's life is good. Thinking back, one maybe nugget for somebody.
Yeah,
When I was kind of like dating around as a young guy, I had things that I didn't want, and I always thought about those things, and those things tended to come into my life, right? So one day I sat down and I wrote a list of everything I wanted in a female. It was 100+ line items, and I became crystal clear on exactly what I wanted in my life. And then guess what? You meet somebody that meets those things, right? It's just like, goals in real estate and business. Like if you don't know where you're going or where you're headed or what you want the end goal to look like, how are you ever going to get there, right?
yeah.
One of the other things my wife and I do every Sunday, we meet. We meet with our sales team. We meet with our operations team. We meet with our company. We meet with all these people, but you don't meet with your spouse, right? So every week, every Sunday, we meet and we talk about how the week went, what went good, what went bad, what upset one another, what's the solution to those things, what's going on next week, and when's date night. Those are the things we talk about every single week. So it's like, if you want it to work, you gotta put the work in for it too.
I love that, bro. And what's some of the my bad, T. What from you being single, also been this young guy having 100,000, not staying disciplined, right? Right, staying disciplined. Saying, no, I'm throwing this back into my business to, kind of transitioning, having a portfolio, obviously having a child on the way, being married and stuff like that. What has been the biggest change? Because you've been an entrepreneur through most of that time. I'm guessing since you've known
Yep.
her and things like that. From being single to being married, you personally, what's kind of like the biggest thing that you had to change
Um,
across the journey? You know what I'm saying?
yeah, getting married, really not much changed. Having a kid on the way is when I've realized changes, and not like it hasn't changed yet because kid's not here, but
Right.
my internal thoughts. Because like I've always been the type like I'll outwork anybody, anytime, any place, anywhere. I work 24 hours if I have, like I'm in, right? Sign me up. And that's always the mindset that I've had, and it's got me to where I am. But that's not the life you want to live for the next 50 years, right? We do this for the freedom. You feel me? And so knowing that I have a kid on the way, that's going to take time, energy, effort, people, right? So now I'm operating my business in a way where I'm limiting the time and I'm building it to not require me, right? And that's what all the things that we try to do, remove yourself, remove yourself, remove you. We've heard it 100 times, but like to me, this is the first time it's like extremely real. And the way I think about things is vastly different than how I used to think about things.
Absolutely. I would agree. And I've been married 5 years now, going on 6. And I would agree that not much changes when you actually put a ring on and just go through the process. You know what I'm saying? Like that's really what you're doing. You're just having your great night. Not much changes there. It's when, like you said, when other lives become involved.
For sure.
Now we talk about a whole different ball game, but in a good way.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? So
100% for sure.
that was huge.
Sure.
Cool.
Well, I love it. I think, man, also, man, you kind of unpacked a lot. Obviously, you uncovered private money. You basically have one employee. Don't know how the hell you do that, but you managed to do it. Build up something dope. Man, got a beautiful family and stuff like that. You got a girl or boy on the way?
Baby boy.
You got a
that's
name
sweet.
already?
We got one, but it ain't dropped
But
yet.
you ain't going to. Oh, okay. Cool. All good.
I was
all
surprised
good.
you gave the gender.
You know, I gotta ask. I mean, we got a podcast, man. I gotta ask. You know.
Right. We're gonna be like, hey, we interviewed your daddy before, you know what I'm saying, you was making 100 million. Remember that.
It's on wax. No,
It's
no.
on wax.
But no, man, that's cool, man. Awesome. We appreciate you coming on, hopping on. Where can people find you? How can people connect with you? You know, if they want to, speak to you a little bit further, where can our audience find you at?
Yeah, I'm on all social medias, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I engage the most on Instagram. So find me on Instagram at Austin Rutherford Official. Send me a DM. I respond to all my DMs personally. So would love to connect with anybody out there.
All right, cool. Well, shoot, man, guys, you heard it here first. Moguls in the making, episode 54. We got my dude AR-15 in the build, man. Definitely appreciate having you on, man. I feel weird because we ain't got like our buzzers, we ain't got our bells and stuff.
It's normally
All that stuff.
boom, boom, boom. Yeah, all of that. But it's all good though. We unpacked a lot, man, and I do appreciate your time. I know it means a lot, for me and Omari, but I know also, your time is money, so we appreciate you coming on here and dealing with us, man, for sure.